And then we get on to, of course, UFC 257, Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. This is going to be an unbelievable fight. They did fight in 2014 and it was great, and now we get to see it again. Two much more mature fighters, much more experienced fighters, no longer depleting themselves to make the 145-pound weight class at featherweight. Now they're lightweights, and they've both put on a lot of weight. I mean, Poirier is much bigger than he used to be, and this is just going to be an awesome fight. But first, I'm going to talk about the co-main event. We have Dan Hooker going up against Michael Chandler. So here we have the tail of the tape. Chandler is not ranked. Dan Hooker's ranked number 6. Chandler has a great record, 16-4. He was a former Bellator MMA lightweight champion, 3-time lightweight champion actually, while Hooker has a record of 20-9. Hooker has he has the edge in the age. He's only 30, but Chandler's 34. Hooker also has the height and the reach advantage. Of course, Dan Hooker is a phenomenal striker. He has incredible knees, like we can see here, where he lands that unbelievable knee on Ross Pearson. Knocked his mouth guard out with that knee, and I mean, his knees are incredible. He has a lot of knockouts with his knees at lightweight, and he was a former featherweight as well. Ever since his move to lightweight, he's been doing phenomenally. He has a KO over Gilbert Burns also, which is very impressive, especially considering Gilbert Burns' current progress in the welterweight division. He's got a title shot coming up. Dan Hooker actually knocked him out, and it was a very impressive first-round KO. So Dan Hooker has great striking, and it's going to be exciting to see him going up against Michael Chandler, who's mostly an unknown in the UFC, except for the hardcore fans who have seen him fight in Bellator. And he has just phenomenal striking. Here we see Dan Hooker knocking out James Vick, another impressive first-round knockout. I mean, he's got a lot of first-round knockouts, and he's just a great striker. And of course, his most recent fight came against Dustin Poirier, where he had a lot of success, especially in the first 2 rounds. He was doing really well. He was beating Poirier. And it was also just an incredible fight. It was very exciting start to finish, one of the best fights of 2020. So this is his first fight since his loss to Poirier, and it's going to be interesting to see how he looks in his comeback fight. Here's another clip from the Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker fight. I mean, you can see here Dan Hooker landing some big hooks on Dustin Poirier, and that just shows that he had a lot of success early on in this fight, especially right here at the end of the second round. He got Poirier against the fence and pressured him. He was doing very well against Poirier. But Michael Chandler, his first fight in the UFC, he might not be very well known among the UFC fans, but he has incredible striking as well. I do give the edge to Hooker in the striking, but Michael Chandler has unbelievable power. Like you can see right here, the speed and the power accuracy of that right cross by Chandler is just incredible, the way he knocked out his opponent in Bellator there. So he has great striking too. And his wrestling is his biggest advantage. I mean, his wrestling is his main weapon, but just look at this takedown. I mean, Michael Chandler is extremely athletic. Look at the flexibility of his hips to even get this takedown. It's incredible. He has unbelievable wrestling. His striking is not to be taken lightly either, so he's got a big fight against Dan Hooker, and this is not going to be an easy win for either guy. Michael Chandler also, of course, he holds a win over Eddie Alvarez in Alvarez's prime. They were both in Bellator before the UFC. So this is another big win on his resume. Here you see him dropping Eddie Alvarez multiple times. So that shows again how good his striking is, even though wrestling is his primary tool. To give my prediction for this fight, this one was a tough one to call. Dan Hooker has experience in UFC, whereas Michael Chandler, he has experience in Bellator. It's going to be very interesting to see, but I got to go with Michael Chandler. And the reason is he's a very well-rounded fighter, and I think he's going to be able to get the takedown. And yeah, I give him the edge, especially with the wrestling. I think the wrestling is going to be the difference maker in this fight, because when he gets Dan Hooker on the ground, where we haven't seen Hooker really often or at all in his UFC career, it's going to be cool to see how Hooker does off his back, and Michael Chandler has submissions and phenomenal wrestling. I think the wrestling is going to be the difference maker. But on the feet, Chandler's not to be taken lightly either. He has incredible striking, speed, and power, so he can rock Dan Hooker on the feet too. He's very well rounded, and I think he's going to get the win. I can't wait to see how he's going to look in the UFC, and I'm looking forward to this fight. But Dan Hooker has great takedown defense too, so that's another factor to look at. But again, I think Chandler will get the win. And then we get on to, of course, the main event. This is just going to be crazy to see. The rematch between Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. Now they're lightweights. Poirier's ranked number 2, McGregor's number 4. They've both had fights against Khabib. They've both held the belt at a time. Poirier was the interim champion. McGregor was the undisputed champion. They both have phenomenal records. Poirier's 31, McGregor's 32. Poirier has a slight height advantage, but McGregor has a slight reach advantage. So it's going to be a close matched fight. Here we see some highlights from their first fight. McGregor was throwing lots of crazy kicks. Here we see a nice hooking kick from Conor McGregor that Poirier did block, but he was pretty surprised by McGregor's great striking in that fight. Caught Poirier a bit off guard. And then he got this early knockout. You can see this is in the first round, not even 2 minutes in, and McGregor manages to knock him out. He completely demolished Dustin Poirier. It was a quick fight. We didn't get to see much out of Poirier, and hopefully we'll get to see more this time. But that's the story from the first fight. Since then, Dustin Poirier, immediately after, he moved up to lightweight. He's huge. I mean, he was depleting himself to get down to the featherweight weight limit. Here you see he's won the interim belt at lightweight. It was well deserved. That was in his fight against Max Holloway. I mean, he looked phenomenal against Max Holloway. These are some highlights from their fight. Poirier rocked Max Holloway on multiple occasions. Never dropped him, but he did hurt him. And right there you can see he hurts Max Holloway. I mean, Poirier has phenomenal boxing. He's a very well-rounded fighter, and he's going to put up a good fight against Conor McGregor. I think it's going to be a better fight than the first one. And Dustin Poirier, he's beat a lot of the top lightweight contenders. Here you can see him fighting Eddie Alvarez with that nice boxing combination. Gets Alvarez against the fence, applies the pressure, and he looked great in that fight too. This was from the fight between Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez. And then you see here, this was right after Poirier gets the knockout over Eddie Alvarez, which was a very impressive win. And this is from his rise up the lightweight ranks. He's just been doing great as a lightweight fighter. Gets the knockout with that elbow, and it was a really exciting fight. Dustin Poirier also holds a knockout win over Justin Gaethje, who just came off of a loss to Khabib. So Justin Gaethje's also been the number 1 contender. He's also fought the champion, and Dustin Poirier holds an incredible win over him. It was also a very exciting fight. It won Fight of the Night. It was one of the best fights of the year too. I mean, you could see right there from this highlight how exciting their fight was. But of course, Dustin Poirier got the knockout win, which you can see right here. And that was very impressive as well. He counters that leg kick from Gaethje with a nice left cross, hurts him with that punch, starts throwing a bunch of hooks, and he applies the pressure on Gaethje. And you can see Gaethje was very wobbly, couldn't keep his balance, and Poirier just would not let up. He continued throwing strikes on Gaethje, hurt him very bad, eventually dropped him, and the ref had to step in and end that fight. That was a great fight too. And it's going to be different as Conor McGregor, though. He just has incredible striking, and here you can see that his intimidating presence. And when he fights, and whenever he's in the spotlight, I mean, everyone just pays attention. He gets fans excited like this. He knows how to get fans excited, and whatever he does, the fans love it, and it's going to be exciting to see him back. He has, of course, everyone knows he has phenomenal striking. His accuracy is just unbelievable. This is his knockout over Chad Mendes when he was still a featherweight. Mendes had some success in that fight with the wrestling, which Poirier could use against McGregor. And McGregor did still get the knockout win in the second round, though, which you can see right over here. And then after that, he goes on to fight Jose Aldo for the featherweight title. We can get pretty much the entire fight right here in this clip because it was so fast, but McGregor he practiced this fight backstage. There are clips of him practicing the exact punch, and he gets the knockout win over Aldo. It only took him 13 seconds in a title fight to become the featherweight champion of the world. Extremely impressive. He has phenomenal striking, and Poirier has great boxing too, so this is going to be a good striking matchup. And here's a slow-mo look at McGregor's KO of Aldo. Just incredible accuracy to land that hook, and knocked him out immediately. So Conor McGregor's striking, everyone knows it's incredible, and this is going to be a great fight. But he has shown a tendency to get tired in the past. Here you can see him walking away from Nate Diaz, and Diaz is pointing at him. He knows that he's tired. That's probably McGregor's biggest weakness. And I think that Poirier's path to a win here, the way that he wins this fight, if you ask me, I think he's got to, in the early rounds, he has to survive McGregor's onslaught. He needs to clinch Conor McGregor, take him down, and try to wrestle him, or just get on his bike and avoid McGregor's early onslaught at all costs. Try to tire McGregor out, and then after the round 2 or 3, start putting on the pressure and using his boxing, really let his strikes go, and see how he can do against Conor McGregor. I think that if this fight goes past 2, maybe 3 rounds, Dustin Poirier will get the win. When he fought Dan Hooker, he had tons of energy still in rounds 3, 4, and 5. Those were actually his best rounds of the fight. So I think Dustin Poirier can beat Conor McGregor if the fight goes past those first few rounds. He also got hurt against Nate Diaz, but he was pretty tired there. Then he eventually gets choked out. That's not to say McGregor isn't a good fighter. He's actually an incredible fighter, and everyone knows he's a great fighter. He has phenomenal striking. He has great takedown defense too, which we got to see against Khabib. Khabib actually struggled to cut McGregor down. Probably one of his toughest opponents to take down. So it's not going to be easy for Poirier to try to take down Conor McGregor. And it's going to be exciting. There you saw McGregor dropping Nate Diaz. Here you see his striking on display again, where he drops Nate Diaz and knocks him out. 4-punch combination, landed every single one of them to win the lightweight belt. And then his most recent fight comes against Cowboy Cerrone. Immediately lands this knee at the very beginning, and then starts hitting him with shoulder strikes. Of all the tools to use, he uses shoulder strikes and actually broke Cowboy's nose with them. So that was cool to see. And he eventually got the knockout win over Cowboy, which you can see over here. Landed a nice head kick and eventually got the knockout win. So this fight's going to be really interesting. For my prediction, I do think Conor McGregor is going to get the win here. He has, like I explained, Poirier's path to getting a victory, but I just think his onslaught at the beginning of the fight is going to be too much. He's too precise, and his striking is just too clean. It's tough to think that Poirier would be able to avoid all those shots for 2 straight rounds. I think McGregor's bound to land a strike. He's bound to land a heavy shot against Poirier, and that could really be it. That could be the end of the fight just from landing one hard shot, like you saw in the first fight too. That's not to say Poirier hasn't grown as a fighter. He has, and he's improved a lot. But when McGregor lands, it has an effect on his opponents, and I think he's going to land some big shots on Poirier, and I think he's going to get an early knockout win again. However, so this is what I think we're going to see, another knockout win over Poirier, but I would definitely love to see Poirier survive the onslaught and start wrestling or clinching McGregor, get him tired, and see how he does in the later rounds. That's what I want to see, a complete war between the two of them, seeing McGregor get past the first few rounds and how he looks in the later rounds to see if he's improved his cardio and can really continue fighting strongly in the later rounds. That's what I want to see, but I do think Poirier is going to get knocked out early. So that's the main event, Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. I can't wait for it, and I'm curious what you guys think. Who do you guys think is going to win between Hooker and Chandler, and of course the main event, McGregor versus Poirier? I want to know who you guys think is going to win, so let me know in the comments. So for the main card of UFC 257, like I said, I think McGregor and Chandler will be getting the wins. And for the other 3 fights, I think Joanne Calderwood is going to win against Jessica Eye, Ottman Azaitar, and Amanda Ribas. I think they're going to be the ones who get the win on the UFC 257 main card. Thanks for checking out my predictions for in this video, and I just wanted to end by showing this awesome picture of Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar, and the comparison between Muhammad Ali when he's fighting Joe Frazier there. I thought the similarities here were just uncanny, and it shows how great Max Holloway is to be drawing comparisons now from Muhammad Ali. So that's just an incredible picture. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.